today we're going to talk about ways to approach conflict. So we talked about conflict and we talked about different definitions of it last week, and then we kind of talked about bullying. So we're going to talk about the behavior that you use when you approach a conflict. So there's 3 basic types of behavior. There's passive, aggressive, and assertive. Have you guys all heard these words? Yeah, we have. So how would you define a passive behavior? Calm. Anyone else? Yeah?
Maybe being aggressive verbally.
Being aggressive verbally? Okay. Well, if you're going to be aggressive, it would be considered aggressive. So passive is going to be more when you kind of give in to someone. So like if someone says, oh, you know,
And I see him
if you're in a conflict, like let's come up with a conflict, like a normal everyday conflict.
fighting
Yeah. Okay, so let's say you're fighting over the right answer to a problem. And if 2 people are fighting about it, and one person says, well, I have the right answer, and the other person says, okay, you're right. That's kind of being passive. You're just kind of being a pushover. You just kind of give in to the other person. Now, what would the opposite be? What would aggressive be? Keep going. Me! Well, how would you act? How would being aggressive what actions would you take that would define aggressive?
Being a bully, like being very aggressive to other people, like punching, hitting.
Yeah.
What was the question again?
What does aggressive mean?
Oh, like, if you're really aggressive, you would take, like, put some rocks in the sock and
And I don't think I would so do that.
We can do like Sam on
Real aggressive. Take yourself heck here if it's time to get
So here we're all kind of defining violence pretty much.
You could be like Sam on my parlay and put butter in a sock.
Okay, so basically the point that we're getting to is that passive is really just like not standing up for yourself. That's the important part here, is that you have to stand up for yourself. And with aggressive, you're definitely standing up for yourself. You know, if you're wrong and you take over and you're standing up for yourself. Whereas passive, you're not going to stand up for yourself. And if you're fighting over the math problem, and even if you think you're right and the other person says they're right, you'll say, okay, you're right, just because you want to avoid the conflict. And so you'll be passive and you're not standing up for yourself. So where do you think take 10 falls? If this is like a spectrum, where do you think it falls?
assertive.
Assertive, yeah. So how would you define assertive?
Yeah.
Like, if the one person's right and the other person's right, then like you just say both people are right instead of like arguing over who's right.
Like I said,
So when you're being assertive, you're going to be fair. A big important part of that is being fair, but you're also standing up for yourself. So whereas when you're passive, you're not really standing up for yourself, and when you're aggressive, you're really standing up for yourself. Assertive is that middle ground where you're going to be fair for both people, but you're also going to stand up for yourself. All right, and then that all goes back to the motto we talked about the first day too of Take 10: talk it out, walk it out, wait it out. So if you're being assertive and it's the math problem thing, and you can talk through it and say, this is why I think this is the answer, this is why I think this is the right answer. You can talk it out and then you wait it out. I mean, if you're still heated about it, don't go and hit the person, but you just kind of be patient, take a breath, and wait it out that way. So then today, what we're going to do is we're going to break into small groups, and we have some questions. We're going to talk about like bullying and different kinds of behavior you can use for it, and then we're going to make comic strips about Take 10, so you can just draw your own comic strip of any kind of like situation or conflict, and how you would use a Take 10 method to act it out. So, okay.
So, why don't we break up into groups of 3? Jeff, do you want to start by counting off by 4?
3.
Oh, yes, sorry.
1. What? 2, 3, 1. 2. 1. 2. 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
How about 1's go with Amy, 2's go with Mark, and 3's go with Katia. Sorry.
All right. So 1,
And then we'll join a group.
we'll go to this corner.
This group of volunteers breaks the students into small groups to discuss the issue of bullying at school. Small groups allow students to be open about their experiences with bullying. It also allows one of the Take 10 ground rules: everyone has the right to speak, to work easily in larger classroom settings. The students were quick to respond to instances of bullying throughout their school day and provide vivid examples within their groups. In addition to physical fighting, the students also mentioned non-physical or emotional bullying. To some students, this was the most harmful form of bullying and left irreversible scars. After the initial discussion of bullying, the volunteers talked about utilizing Take 10 when faced with conflict. Middle school students enjoy discussion-based learning and often have a lot to say. Because discussion is halted through most of the day, students are itching to talk at after-school programs. The volunteers moved into a final activity of developing a comic strip using acquired skills from Take 10. The volunteers used this as a culminating activity and chance for students to review what they have learned up to this point.